Technology advancements in history have been pretty simple, which is, it's better. Why am I gonna use email? I have a fax machine. It's better. Why am I gonna use a fax machine instead of sending a letter? Because it's better. Why am I gonna send a letter versus walking 18 miles to tell the person? Because it's better. History's pretty simple on this, and humans continue to wanna be historically incorrect out of their comfort.
Gary, what's going on, man? How are you?
Life is good, brother. Thank you for asking.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, it's kind of crazy. I don't know if you know this, but we've known each other for about 6 years because we first met in the speakers lounge of Photo Plus and we FaceTimed our good friend Johnny Moe. So it's been a long time and it's good to see you here.
It's great to see you.
So we got to jump into this. We don't have all the time in the world. But for the purposes of this conversation, we've got 4 hot topics that I'd love to talk about. Industry sentiment, NFT journey for brands, your Web3 journey, and VeeFriends. Does that sound good with you?
Sounds good.
Love it. Okay, so diving into industry sentiment. Over the last 6 to 12 months, what do you believe is holding normies back most from getting involved in NFTs?
Friction in the technology, like setting up a MetaMask is like rough, buying all that stuff. The greed of the last wave had a lot of bad behavior in it. Obviously, like macro headlines like fraud and like FTX and all that stuff. But then also like, if you're like most schemy friend who's always got like a flavor of the month, quick way to make money, like buys like an NFT and it's like a porcupine with like a cigar up its ass, and he's like, I bought this for $300 and sold it for 20K, you're gonna kind of be cynical. And that's what happened with the internet, you know, in a lot of ways. But the internet was about people buying public stock. So the people that were buying pets.com and all the, and you know, all the stuff that was $130 a share that went to a penny, those were like educated kind of investors. This was more broad in the back of Robinhood and, you know, Reddit and meme stocks. And so it was just a lot of muckery that like disguises the macro technology. But like most people didn't buy an iPhone when they had the BlackBerry because they thought it was bullshit. Like people forget now, but because I bought one on day one, everyone's like, you got ripped off. That is so stupid. A phone should never cost that much. So innovation is always misunderstood. Short-term greed and get-rich schemes hurt it. And so it's gonna take a good chunk of time to get some of that muckery off of the body.
And from an educational perspective, have you noticed any recent advancements to help get normies to better understand the importance of this tech?
I thought more of that was going on, you know, in 2 years ago this time, like January, February, March, April, I was doing a lot of it, like was really working for that. And then just like everyone, like the first, that wave, because the waves of 15 and 17, like, you know, yeah, there's a lot, look, this podcast, like, yes, I think there's a lot more. It's just like floor price and like just the short-term thinking had a moment. That's okay. Like you party till 2 a.m. in high school and college, and that doesn't become your whole life. It's just a moment, and that's what happened. And you know, I think that it'll be a normalized progression. So I would actually say there's a lot more educational, but it's content, but it's just being drowned out by the crypto winter.
Yeah, and because it's also drowned out, you know, you have people like me who used to have so many folks come to me asking for advice and understanding. I'm getting less of that now.
Of course.
So I feel like I'm speaking to existing crypto folks versus getting that onboarding of new people that I was getting about, let's say, 16 months ago.
That's exactly right. And now,
yeah,
now it becomes a game of how much conviction does one have.
That's exactly it. I've got conviction. I'm here. So Gary, last question on industry sentiment. If you could place one bet on what would bring in the next 10 million NFT owners, what would that be? And has this always been your bet, or is it something new?
A significant organization at scale makes a real play for the technology. The NFL converts all of its tickets to NFTs versus QR codes. Delta converts all of its airline tickets to NFTs instead of QR codes. You know, Carnival Cruise, the way you get on is an NFT now, not an email confirmation. Costco, all their club cards are an NFT. Like, mass integration for normalization. If you asked me this about QR codes, which is a great technology, I would have not predicted there'll be a global pandemic that will shut down the earth for a couple years, and during that time, restaurants will use QR codes for menus, and 70-year-olds will, and the timing of the iPhone having it default into the photo app will work, and then, like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's not gonna be any of the things I just said, it's gonna be something left field, like, but I think it's gonna be like that, like something that's at scale.
What advice would you give to brands now about getting into Web3 that was different from 12 months ago?
Selling things is gonna be harder, but capturing first party data through giving people free mints, and then those free mints can do something, and then, you sell bacon, there's a bacon NFT that drops, everyone can come to your site, and if they have the NFT, they can get a free pack of bacon, like things like that, like those, like just more thoughtfulness based on consumer behavior at the moment.
So, something I've been thinking about a lot is the idea that brands creating NFTs can gamify marketing, because the idea of utility can always be evolving.
Correct.
Do you think there needs to be a fundamental shift at these brands in how these teams are structured to support this notion? And should it be living with marketing teams? Should it be living with corporate strategy teams? Should Web3 and NFT be in its own organization?
All three of the things that you just mentioned will happen in Fortune 500 companies. They'll all structure it differently. To answer your question directly, do I think they need to do that right now? No, because I don't think there's enough scaled consumer demand that they need to. But I don't think people needed a website in 1997, but it would have been a good idea because by 2002, the organization's DNA would have known what to do. So do I think they need to? No. Do I think it'd be wise to? Yes. But unfortunately, most big brands don't think 5 years out because the leaders are not compensated on 5 years out. And so that's what happens.
And so if you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, what org should Web3 and NFT specifically sit in?
I think it's going to sit in a lot of places. It's going to sit in that's like saying, what should the internet sit in? The internet was in 1998. Like, the internet was going to sit everywhere. Like, I don't think people get it. Like, every single thing is going to be affected by this. Decentralized servers at scale that have smart contracts attached in execution on top of them is going to benefit everyone in the world. Some of it is going to have collectible, visual rationale, art collectibles, but a lot of it is going to affect title insurance and things of that nature, and it's definitely going to impact the legal department because your legal documents may sit on the blockchain instead of the cloud or in paper.
Isn't it so fucking crazy how 6 months ago when we were having this conversation, when you think about NFTs and brands, it was so separate from the idea of everything going on chain and legal getting involved and supply chains. And now when you say Web3 is like saying the internet, it's so right. And I almost sound silly asking that question, but here we are and it's happening.
Yeah, and it's gonna take time. Again, in 1997 and 8 and 9, when I told everybody I was doing this website for my dad's store, literally, I just need everybody to hear this once and for all. Literally every single question is, who's gonna buy wine on the internet? Why won't I just go to your store? And my answer was everyone, right? And that's what people say now, in smart conversations, why do you need an NFT for that? The answer is because it's a better technology. An NFT is a better technology for a lot of things than a QR code, than an email confirmation, than an app in the Apple ecosystem. It will just evolve into being a better technology, and that's what people struggle with. Like, even with what's going on with AI now, like, why would I do that? Because it will be better. Like, technology's advancements in history have been pretty simple, which is, it's better. Like, you know, why am I gonna use email? I have a fax machine, it's better. Why am I gonna use a fax machine instead of sending a letter? Cause it's better. Why am I gonna send a letter versus walking 18 miles to tell the person? Because it's better. Like, history's pretty simple on this, and humans continue to wanna be historically incorrect out of their comfort.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. And on that note of comfort and people building new things in the space, what are some new trends that you're picking up on right now?
Me personally, not much, because I'm so head down Knops. Like, right now, I'm just worried about executing an incredible VCon.
Yep,
you know,
which was fucking awesome last year.
Thank you, and I think, like, I'm feeling like I could actually see, well, I know this is not visual, but I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 offices down, a huge screen with like 30 people on it, and says VCon days 2 and 3. So I'm like, yeah, we're cooking.
Let's go.
You know, I want to make, we've got some really interesting technology that we're building that I think is going to bring a lot of value to current, like right now my focus is on current VFriends holders.
Yep.
And that's like, I'm excited about that. So I'm focused on that. And you know, if something crazy happens in the industry from like, I'm sure I'll know, right? Like, I know what's going on with AI art and copy, and that's not even like in the pocket of what I'm like. So like, if anything nuts, so if somebody creates a new blockchain or an advancement we've never seen before, but right now what I think you're seeing is a lot of the same, including us. Yep. Like, you know, games, cool, makes sense. Like, you know, staking strategies, cool, makes sense. Like, I understand why, but that's not exciting me to get deep into, like, I have to learn everything about this. So I've got like 1/4 of one eye watching if anyone's doing anything that's so profound. But like, I also don't think that's a judgment to the space. Like, it takes time to do profound things.
100%. And on the idea of industry trends, when you're building the roadmap of VFriends, how much of it is keeping up with industry trends? It sounds like
very,
a quarter of it.
Very little.
Going with your team's gut intuition.
My intuition.
Well,
and I'll tell you why. I don't say that like ivory tower, like Napoleon theory. It's like, of course my team's intuition, but like when I say I still have a lot of things baked in my head of why I did this 18 months ago. Like, I don't understand how people think like, I don't know, like, it's like when you're building a business, it takes a long time. Like, I'm really fascinated by people's lack of operational capabilities and how people are judging things in micro minutes. Like, yeah, this is this price and this is doing this. I'm like, cool, but like the Chargers were beating the Jaguars 27-0 at one point in the game they lost 2 weeks ago. Like, I'm not overtly worried about who's doing what. Like, there's tons of projects right now that were hot a year and a half ago are dead right now. And the talent on that team is young and green and raw. And they're gonna come up with an idea in one board meeting in 7 months that's gonna change the trajectory of their project. So like, for me, that's how I think about VFriends, which is like, when I say me, I'm like, there's still like 15 things I wanna get done.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel that. We've got a few more minutes. I've got one more question for you, Gary. When you think about bringing new people into the VFriends community, is it done by building off of your IP, such as your partnership with Macy's where you sold physical figures, or is it more through blockchain tech, such as creating new mints?
It's definitely not creating new mints in the short term, because I feel like between book games and Series 2, you know, people forget, Series 2 is 55,000 units. Like, I don't want to create more inflation. You know, to me, that is not exciting. I don't even, you know, people are like, when's Series 3 in my Discord? I'm like, I'm not. Like, That's like asking a 15-year-old, like, when are you gonna have a child? You're not even beginning to, like, that's how I feel right now. Like, when I was 15, if somebody asked me, when are you gonna have a child? I'm like, what are you I'm a child. Like, that's how I feel about Series 3. Like, I can't even begin to think about that. I'm thinking about it, to your point, more on things like the Macy's collaboration, character development in my world. You know, VeeFriends is a very unique project that I think people overlook. Most of the great projects we see right now, Doodles, World of Women, Moonbirds, Bored Ape, it's like a singular character with attributions. VeeFriends is, you know, 250 different characters. The wizard and the gorilla and the be the bigger person and the raccoon and, I mean, you know, the moose and the cheetah, like the moth. Like, I've got much more of a Disney, Pokemon, Marvel, and that's like a lot of work. Like, I've got to get the world to care about, I know I'm pointing, I know this is not gonna be on video, but like the passion parrot. Like, I'm in like character development mode.
Yeah, I hear that, Gary. I'm gonna be cognizant of your time because I know you talk about this stuff for the next hour. I've gotta say, Gary, you have always been very good to me. And I genuinely appreciate that. And when people say, is Gary actually what he's like? You know, Gary is what he's like, and he's 10 times more. You're the man. You've always been great to me. I appreciate you being on here today, and I wish you the best of luck, man.
I'm cheering for you, brother. Thank you for those kind words. We'll talk soon. Thank you, team.
All right.